Hi, I'm Justin Berk, the morning and noon meteorologist here at WMAR, ABC2 here in Baltimore. And I'd like to think that I have a personal relationship with the Weatherbug or Storm Center WeatherNet program. First of all, I have been teaching weather classes at Village Uli College for the last 5.5 years. And since I started there, the college has actually purchased this weather station, which is a very integral part of my weather course, not only for what I teach, but also how my students can follow along with the weather, not only at their school, but an idea of how they can follow along with weather stations in their hometown as well. Now, in addition to just teaching college, I like to think that my relationship goes a little bit deeper than that. When I first moved to the Baltimore area back in 1997, I started working at the NBC affiliate in town, and at that time, that was the station that had the Weatherbug contract. And for 5 years at that station, it was a really close part of our daily weather forecast and also our weather segments on TV. So in 2003, when I moved here to ABC2, I felt like I was losing a friend. It was really difficult to try to keep the same weather segments in the same town without actually having the real-time neighborhood data to hook up to. Now, I was really lucky because a few months after I moved here, the management here at ABC2 was able to obtain the contracts to Weatherbug, and I sort of felt like I was reunited with a colleague. Now, I know that sounds a little bit cheesy, may sound a little bit forced, but let me explain a little bit closer detail. First off, here in the Baltimore area, one of our biggest suburbs is Ellicott City, just west of town. Now, in Ellicott City itself, there's a lot of interesting weather. They got some rolling hills and some deep valleys, and we've got a lot of weather stations just in that one town that we can hook up to. Here's Centennial Lane Elementary in Ellicott City, where we've got a camera hooked up, and we can see the real-time weather conditions, at least with snapshots of the camera every 5 minutes. And in addition to that, we can go a little bit deeper. We can watch the actual wind change on the screen. We can see the wind chill, calculate the gusts, calculate the rainfall, anything that would be important from a morning to midday or evening weather segment. But one of the most interesting days that I've had, at least since I've moved over to this particular station, is the fact that we had a storm rolling through a couple of winters ago where we were following a rain-snow line. And I was able to hook up 4 particular locations in just the town of Ellicott City, line it up with our Storm Center Doppler, of course something that we tout here as being Maryland's most powerful Doppler radar, and try to identify where that rain-snow line is. So going from the north side of town, where temperatures were in the upper 20s, we could see that snow was falling there. But the south side of Ellicott City, temperatures were actually into the middle 30s, and they had already turned over to rain. So as easy as it was to say it was showing up on Storm Center Doppler, we could pinpoint those neighborhood stations and line it up exactly, and you'd be amazed by how many viewers had called in just to show their appreciation of how we were able to track that snowstorm and that winter event much better than the other TV stations in town. Now, in terms of one of the most important days that we've had here and using the Weatherbug, has to date back to March of 2004 when that Fort McHenry water taxi overturned, and unfortunately we lost the lives of 4 people. This was a storm that fortunately we were able to track much better than our competitors and the Weather Service just because of our locations around the region. Number one, we have time-lapse cameras, so we could see the weather that was happening in the western part of the state or the central part of the state as that storm was approaching. But we were also able to track that storm through our many locations, plotting the wind speed that the airport was only reporting 30-35 mile-per-hour winds. Our locations in the path of that storm reporting 40 to 50 mile-per-hour winds. Now, a meteorologist will tell you that you need 57 mile-per-hour wind gust or speed to actually have severe limits and put out a warning for a storm. This storm never hit that criteria, so no warnings were ever posted. And if we didn't have the Weatherbug, we couldn't prove that right under the heart of that storm, we had winds that were getting close, at least to that level. As it came closer to town, we were able to see this storm pulse with its energy on Storm Center Doppler, and we were able to line it up with one of our closest locations at Sparrows Point High School, where they reported a 55 mile-per-hour wind gust, proving the strength of the storm that capsized that boat and actually was used as part of the NTSB investigation with that particular event. Comparing that to a weather station from BWI, the National Weather Service site that was 10 miles away, and their 36 mile-per-hour wind, it was crucial to show what was happening right in the path of that storm, and we were able to do that here with the benefit of Weatherbug and our Storm Center WeatherNet program. So for that reason alone, I think the Weatherbug itself is a very important part of using in our weather segments. Quiet days can be interesting, interesting days that much more dramatic because we can see what's happening in the path of the storm. You also add that in with the Weatherbug program on the computer, and people can take that with them when they're away from the TV station, but always have that reminder that when the real event is happening, we can plot it right here. But I'm also able to use something new called the Weatherbug sticker on my website. I co-host a radio show on Sundays called Weather Talk, and we like to post the real-time weather data as well as we can do here on TV. Using that Weatherbug sticker, we're able to hook up through the local weather stations, post it in the corner of the screen so people can see what's happening in their hometown. I also line that up with some cameras, and it makes for a much more dramatic and much more interesting weather picture, not only on the computer screen, but also for our listeners and our viewers to come back and watch us again on TV. We can hook that up to Ocean City, where people want to plan their vacations for the spring and the summer at the beach. We could also hook that up to the mountains, where people want to see what's happening away from town, if it's cold enough to have snow on the slopes, and what that forecast may be for the next couple of days. So once again, I truly believe, not here just to promote Weatherbug, because they're not paying me for this, but I don't know how I could do my job any better if I didn't have this program to back me up. So when I do say that I feel like I was reunited with a colleague, I truly mean that.